Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Late Night Tech. Today, we're going to be discussing how to control the Gear 360 if you are an iPhone user. Got a couple less expensive options instead of buying those Samsung flagships. So let's get into it. So, as it turns out, I'm an iPhone user. I bought the Gear 360 thinking that I'd be able to use it in full auto, and for the most part it works pretty well, but I do shoot in some difficult environments where that's really not going to work. So I'm going to need to have a way to control it. I need to be able to start and stop. I need to be able to adjust the exposure compensation. I need to be able to change the mode from time to time. So I'm going to be into some kind of an Android device. That's the bottom line. So it turns out that Binary has made a port of the Samsung Gear 360 app. It allows non-flagship phones to stitch in 2 and 4K, depending upon which app you use. It does a great job, and I'm so happy that he took the time to do that. So I've tried out several different options to try to control the Gear 360. And I'm going to show those to you here. Then, at about the 5-minute mark in the video or so, I'm also going to show you a little bit about connecting the Gear 360 to your device through Wi-Fi-direct and being able to extend the range of control greatly. I shoot in some stadiums at marching band season, so I want to be able to control literally from across the stadium, and I think I've got a way to do that. So the first device that I bought to control the Gear 360 was the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. I figured that had the closest specs to an S7, but a much lower price tag. In my case, I found an open box at Best Buy. It was about $268. So not that bad of a deal, and not to mention the fact that you get a good tablet in the process. It does control the Gear 360. It does give me live view. However, it will not stitch. I tried both the 2K and the 4K apps, and it will not stitch in either. It will stitch pictures. So if you only need to do photography on the run, then the Tab S2 would certainly do what you need for it to do, and you could go home and do the video there. So all in all, I would give it an 8 out of 10. So, in my further attempt to find a way to control this Gear 360, Best Buy put a Motorola Moto X Pure on sale for $250 the other day. Thought that was better priced than the tablet. I've already got a ton of iPads, don't really need another tablet lying around. And so I grabbed the Pure, and you know what? It does it. It works. Live view. Hey, that's me. Yeah, there you go. Control, it'll even stitch. It'll stitch in 4K. Now, one thing that I think is worth noting is that in the settings, I have turned off the auto rotate function that evens out your horizontal. I think that for mobile video processing, that is just a little bit too much. So I've turned that off, but otherwise, this thing works fine. I've done short videos in 4K and 2K. I think it's more than enough to control in the field, and it's got a smaller form factor than the tablet. So as far as just controlling the 360 and a few little things like my daughter can play some games and stuff, this Pure X was just the way to go. So at $250, it gets me in the door. So at the end of the day, I know that $250 is a little much to spend for controlling this camera, but the reality is, if you can't get a good exposure with the camera, and I shoot in environments where the auto's not going to do it, then there's no point in having the camera if I don't. So for me, for a business decision, this made sense. Now, obviously, there's lots of phones available on the used market, so I think you could probably do a lot better than the $250, but at the same time, I'm very happy with the decision that I made. I'd like for you to put comments down below if you have tried a device and it does or does not work. Let's start making a list so that people who buy a Gear 360 and have iPhones like I do, or just don't have a phone at all, can start to put together good kits that can really work. Now, the last thing I want to talk about tonight is controlling the Gear 360 through Wi-Fi. So one of my other issues was being able to control the Gear 360 and not have to be standing right next to it. The reality to this thing is that it uses both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi-direct. So if you do it right, you can use a wireless network to extend your range. So for example, here in my house, I can actually trigger this 360 from anywhere. After doing a little bit of research, what I discovered was that your Gear 360 will connect initially to your phone with Bluetooth, and then if your phone was already on a Wi-Fi network, it will switch over to Wi-Fi direct. So the trick here is, first, you turn on your phone and make sure that it is connected to the network that you want to use to extend your range. Then, in close proximity, turn on your Gear 360, let them connect, and then the Gear 360 is going to pick up the Wi-Fi direct from the network. And then at that point, you'll be able to move around and shoot from just about anywhere you need to. In my case, I shoot in some stadiums, I shoot in some auditoriums, I shoot all kinds of places. So I've got some a nice little wireless router that I can use, and I can just put that in the middle someplace and extend my range just through the use of a simple wireless router. Now you may check your router, make sure that it actually will allow that Wi-Fi direct signal to pass through, but I think for the most part we should be pretty safe with that. So that's also a quick and easy way to extend the range of your Gear 360 greatly, so that you can use it from farther distances. Like I said, I've tested it in my house, and I've tested it with the wireless router, that little portable guy that I've got, and it worked great in both cases and gave me a lot more distance so that I didn't have to be right next to the camera. So, there you have it. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. Again, if you have tested a device with Binary's port for Android, please, in the comments, put down your phone model, your Android version, and whether you tested it with the 2K or the 4K. And let's start making a list for people so that we can see what pieces of hardware can handle this thing and which cannot. Thank you so much. See you next time.